Hi everyone, my name's Paula Taylor and this is Tackle the Feelings Before the Behavior, or TFBB. And today I wanted to talk about understanding the healing journey. Because so many of us sort of associate healing with an actual incident that they are aware of and healing from that incident. But the truth is, and most people who are on this healing journey have discovered, is that incident is often a catalyst to understanding that there's a lot more below the surface in that unconscious realm within yourself, from all your experiences, your childhood experiences, and things that have happened to you that have created trauma. And trauma is basically when you have unprocessed emotions that you have not been able to integrate and process out yet and release. And this has varying effects on how we function, how we react, the choices we make, the relationships that we get into, the way we view ourselves and others. And it's usually when we get into a state where we don't like something about how we're living our life or seeing ourselves, or we having symptoms or problems that come up. And it becomes quite difficult when you start this healing journey to accept this unravelling. It's almost like once you open Pandora's box, you can't close it back up again. And so a lot of people get a bit frightened of the journey itself, of what's coming up, because it feels so big and so unmanageable and so uncontainable. And so today I'm hoping that this video helps you to understand an overview of the journey, of what we're doing on a healing journey, whether you're completely aware of it or not. And having that overview can hopefully give you a bit of peace, and take a bit of the fear away from everything else that comes up with exploring yourself and your trauma. So today is really a bit about how I see this, and this is based on my experience working with clients and studying. I qualified as a psychotherapist in Australia, and I'm working in counseling and family support here, not so much psychotherapy as such, just out of preference and situation. But the way I explain this to clients is like, it's a bit like an onion. You know, an onion has all those layers to it, and there's a core to the onion. And instead of going to the core of our wounding, over time we've built up layers and layers and layers of defenses and coping mechanisms and things, that secondary emotions that protect that very vulnerable middle, that the real crux of the wound. You've got probably several core wounds. We all have trauma, and it's about unraveling, not going straight in, but unraveling from the outside. And the outer layer, I say, is denial. Denial is where you just, it's a protective mechanism. It's not something we choose. We need denial when there's a lack of readiness for seeing what the truth is. And some people stay in that denial. I won't go into that now. I do have another video on denial if you're interested on my channel. And the truth is that once we start seeing it, and it's usually that one incident that catalyzes going to therapy or opening things up or seeing things differently, which opens up you seeing a whole bunch of other things about yourself. And the more you learn, the more you uncover. It's one of those things where it just feels bigger and bigger initially, before you've got a bit of a handle on what you're working on. And this is where people freak out a little bit, if I'm honest. You start to feel more damaged and awful than you are, and this is where you want to escape it, hide it. There's a lot of shame. And so the way it works really is like a video game, and you go through the different levels, and each level is important because it gives you the tools and the weapons and the resources, so to speak, for the next level. And so you might not be working on that core wounding originally. For instance, if your core wound is a lot of pain, but you present with a lot of anger, you are going to need to work with that anger first. Or fear often protects things like shame and disgust. And so when it comes to your emotions and the emotional wounding, it's allowing your triggers, because we have triggers that something in the present will trigger off a neural pathway, an emotional imprint or wound from the past. And both of them merge together, and that's where it feels really, really big and really scary. And that's where we get all these overreactions or are unable to let things go, and people don't understand why. And it's really important to ask yourself what has been triggered. And so the process of it really is about working with your triggers as they come up, and your unconscious will never give you more than you can handle. Unless, and here's the catch-22, you start doing things like psychedelics and drugs and substances and all that open you up. And that's why the sort of risk in substance abuse and sort of even, dare I say it, those sort of holistic approaches where you go into the wounding energy work and everything, and you have this whole big enlightened experience before you're ready for it. Or you're opening up wounds, or you're pushing yourself past those boundaries, or you might not even have boundaries, and past that readiness. And it's important to work with readiness. I don't take clients who don't want to be there. There's no point. It can do damage. You need to want to work on it, and you need to be in the driver's seat. And you can't do that when you are sort of opening your mind up and everything like that with the help of a substance, because when that substance wears off, you're stuck with it all open and all this perspective that you, like the video game, you haven't got the resources and tools to deal with. And so when it comes to a healing journey, having a healer can be and several healers in different modalities. I'm mental health counseling, talk therapy, and working with the emotional system, so that's my framework. But when I work with clients, it's about, I say, my first spiel in a session is you set the pace. You bring what you want to work on, because we need to work with your triggers. We need to work with what comes up, what's present, because there's sort of a layer inside that inner system and inner working that knows what to do. It knows how to heal, and we let things surface and work with things as they organically come up. So triggers are important, and you can be really quite healed in a sense of you've reached a lot of goals in your healing journey, and you will still get triggers, because here's the crux, is that we go deeper and deeper. You may have healed something, and then when you get to a certain video game level, you are able to explore it more deeply and get even more healing and get even more reward, because once you work through a trigger and you process and integrate and release it, there's a lot of reward. There's a lot of freedom. It's like you're removing bars from a prison or chains off your legs. And so we're going deeper and deeper, but at a pace that you will always be ready for. You will always have the tools to deal with if you are allowing yourself to work with your triggers, with what comes up, with the memories. And that's why it's a journey. And it's so important to see it as a journey. We are sort of uncovering those layers to get to the core. And a lot of time you can get to the core, and you can really heal things, and you'll notice things that used to bother you don't bother you anymore. Things that were really negative behaviors and all that you don't need to do anymore. People you're attracted to in relationships that are toxic and all that, you don't get attracted to them anymore. You start looking after yourself better, and you build and you build and you build. And you start appreciating triggers a little bit, because they give you that opportunity to get to where you need to be, where your goals are, what you want for yourself, to create the life and the reality that you want. And so the journey is is not an easy one. There's a lot of difficulty in feeling those emotions that were repressed and bringing things up to heal it. You need to feel it. You've got to go through triggers. You've got to confront yourself. You've got to see those bad things within yourself. You've got to expose shame. You've got to sort of look in the mirror and see your accountability in the things that have gone wrong in your life, not just blaming. If you catch my drift, I could go on and on about this, but I hope that's given you a sort of perspective. And a lot of it we can't go into because we need safety. We can't get vulnerable without safety, so we need to create those spaces. That's why therapy and different modalities for healing are very important for us. And it's important to choose what works for you, because the most important thing is that relationship with your healer and the safety that they create. They need to hold space. You can find that in friends and family. But a lot of the time, it's very difficult to go deep alone when you're dealing with things like shame and disgust and things that are about your self-concept and your ego. And so I hope that has given you a bit of a perspective on the journey, and you will have multiple healers along the way. There's not one person that can do this for you. You get people who help you and hold your hand along the way, but it's you, it's inner work, it's shadow work, as Teal Swan says. I love Teal. So I wish you all well, and please ask questions if you need to, and take care. Have a great weekend. Bye.